Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. This time I am playing in the WZ-111-14. This is the Tier 9 Chinese heavy tank. And I love it. I love it a lot more than the Tier 10 Chinese heavy tank. I'll tell you that for a fact. And why is that? Because it gets a gun with bigger alpha damage. It's quite comparable to an E75, this gun. This 130mm dishes out 490 with every shot. Enabling you to one-shot Tier 6 light tanks at the start of the game, if you get a little bit lucky there with the fire. But if we'd rolled just slightly above our average, we wouldn't have even had to set him on fire. Now, I am defending on Siegfried Line Assault, and I love to be aggressive on Siegfried Line Assault. So I was saying how this tank's gun is comparable to an E75. And that's true in many ways. Its rate of fire is 15% better, but as we can clearly see here, its gun depression is certainly not better. Oh no, we miss the shot on the side of the tortoise there. I believe the aim time on this tank is the same as the E75 at 2.9 seconds. However, its accuracy is a little bit worse. And that means that I like to play my WZ-111 up close and personal with my opponents, where my relatively long aim time doesn't matter, and my accuracy doesn't count either. And then it's just a case of bludgeoning through these large 130mm shells through their tank with its 244mm of penetration. Now, the armor on this tank works a lot like either an IS-8 or I'd liken it more to an IS-7 really, at least with regards to the side. We put in a huge shot there to the side of an IS, the Tier 7 Soviet heavy tank. And we reload fast enough to whip a shot into his side. The E75 might have struggled to be able to get off that second shot into him if he didn't dawdle around like he is. And the E75 certainly wouldn't have been able to reload quick enough to take out the IS there. That's why I love the 111-14. I'm willing to forego a little bit of that armor that the E75 has. And I guess also some of the gun depression to be able to gain speed and a great rate of fire on the gun. I also love the way that the side armor works on this tank. You see these sort of ridges here on the side of the tank? That is 30mm of spaced armor. And that means that to be able to get through the side armor of this tank, if you hit this spaced ridge along here, you're going to need, even flush at an angle like this, at least 250mm to get through that part of the armor. And that means that the side of the 111-14 can be very troll indeed. And if you catch an unexpected Tier 9 heavy tank, he's going to quickly regret having engaged you. And so what this means is that when I'm fighting in the 111-14, I don't mind exposing this part of my tank. So when you're going up sideways on ridge lines, it can work very effectively indeed. We've already absorbed 1 shot, 2 shots, 3 shots at least into the spaced armor on the side of the tank. And this area can also be very useful as well in close quarters combat when you're side-hugging your opponents. Now, if we've managed to pick up 3 kills and nearly 4,000 damage 4 minutes into the game. But this game's still pretty close. We're only ahead by 2 tanks. The enemy have still got a large majority of their Tier 9s left, while we only have 4. And so I have to help out. And whipping side shots into a tortoise is a quick way to do that. 415 damage there. That's a very low roll for this 130mm. I don't want to expose myself to the side of these Tier 9 mediums, though. Their high DPM will rip me apart. And while I do have a very healthy hit point pool of 1,850, that doesn't last long against Tier 9 mediums. You're outnumbered. So the tortoise decides to go into the town, and I want to hunt down this E50 or this leopard. I'm thinking that the leopard is going to be going around and taking out my light tank, and yes he is. He's got a T-54 friend with him. And I put a shot into the lower plate of the E50 there. However, he comes round and shows you guys one of the worst things about this tank, and that is the pathetic lower plate on it. I believe It is only 80 millimeters thick, and it is not very well angled. And what that means is that the lower plate is penetrated repeatedly from the front by pretty much every tank that it can meet. Even tier 7 mediums can penetrate the lower plate on this tank at a very extensive angle. And that really sucks for the vehicle. Cheeky T-54 comes up and puts a shot into me as I try to take advantage of the poor positioning on the Leopard prototype. We're waiting for him to come round. We put a good hit into him, but unfortunately he manages to land another shot into us, reducing us to 400 hit points. I will be able to take one more hit from him, but I don't want to. Oh, he manages to hit me again, but at least we take him out the game and finish him off. And the 1390 on my team, Sniper Elite 121212, managed to finish off that sneaky Leopard prototype. So when you're engaging these tanks from the side, you better make sure that you shoot them below this space bar on the upper part of the vehicle. And if you do that in the lower tracks, you only have to get through the 20 millimeters of track-spaced armor. And if you can bypass that, you can go straight through the side armor on this tank, which I believe is 80 millimeters as well. The frontal plate is rather effective. I think it's 120 millimeters on the upper plate, and as we can see, it's very well angled from long range. But if you're in close quarters with the vehicle and you're aiming down on it, then you can still pose it some troubles. My other tip for taking out this absolute monster of a vehicle is to not forget about its cupolas. Its cupolas are very prominent and weak. So right now, we are in a 4 versus 3 situation. The game has been turned completely around with some great kills on those tier 9 medium tanks. And I'm just waiting. I'm trying. I can't afford to get hit right now. I've got 87 hit points. And in these situations, you want to keep your gun in the game. You don't want to risk your life. And I'm thinking about where my next free shot would be on my opponents, i.e. a free shot, i.e. one where I'm not risking my hit points to do so. And I think it's through this gap. Surely one of these 3 tanks is going to try and pass through this gap. Here he comes. Free shot. And that's what you want to look for. 467 damage into the side of the E75 there. And suddenly their hit point advantage is not looking so good, as the 5120 manages to finish off the IS-3, but the E75 shuts him down as well. Now I'm going to wait for him to come around the corner and make sure my tracks are angled inwards so that I can immediately go forwards to avoid his fire. And we've managed to sneak in 1,000 damage into the E75. And with the ST-1 finishing off the T-29, there's very little that the Z-75 can do. I hear him fire, and that's my chance to come and secure the Top Gun. So we had to have a large impact on this game on Siegfried Line. Our T-30 and ST-1 were alive at the end, but they were down to a single shot away from death from the enemy E-75. We had to pick up 8,000 damage and get a Top Gun to still be able to win this round. And I can thank that lovely 30 millimeters of spaced armor over the side of the tank for enabling me to get there, in conjunction, of course, with the lovely speed of the WZ-111 1.4 and a devastating 130 millimeter that makes short work of any opponent, even an E75. And I thought this was a very fitting end to the game. I love my E75. I have played it to death, almost to the stage where, I was a little bit bored of it. The 111 1.4 I would highly recommend to all of you out there who have not thought about the Chinese heavy tanks. It's fast, it's brutal, and it gets the job done. And one thing I love about the WZ-111 1.4 is it does synergize very well with a lot of heavy tanks and medium tanks that you wouldn't expect due to its speed. The key moments of this replay was the defense along these ridge lines here. The WZ-111 1.4 with the 130mm gun has got 5 degrees of gun depression. That's the same as the T-54 or the T-62A for all of you Soviet drivers out there. We were able to work this position only exposing the very strong upper hull armor of the WZ-111 1.4 and pick up a lot of free damage. I love defending from this position on assault. If there's no artilleries on the enemy team, And even if there's only maybe one and possibly two, and you feel like you can make some risks, this position is paramount in my opinion. From here, you can control shots down into the center. You can also provide some great view range out along here for your team and stop anyone that tries to poke their turrets up over here, usually trying to spot your tank destroyers from defending this region. You also can keep an eye on opponents that like to use this position, which is my favorite for when I am assaulting, even though they have nerfed it, as I pointed out in my map changes video, my 9.8 map changes video from about a week ago. After which, it was fairly straightforward. We flanked around, we traded our health effectively against the medium tanks, only getting shot once for every time we shot them, and when you're doing 490 and they're only doing 320, you're definitely going to come out on top. And then, as I strongly suggest you guys do so, when you're very low on health at the end of the game, you better make yourself count. Remember, if your gun's still in it, you can still have an amazing impact for your team. We played a supporting role here, and we're able to keep flanking our opponents and come out with the win. So let's just take a very quick look at the post-game stats. So we managed to pick up the high caliber medal, unsurprisingly, and a top gun medal for the 6 kills, 7,347 experience for our triple. That's 1,633 base in a tier 9 heavy tank. That is a huge result. We did fire a couple of heat rounds here in tricky moments to secure some kills, but we made a 50,000 credit profit as well. We fired 20, and of those 19 hits, and of the 19 hits, 19 penetrated. And as highlighted throughout the video, our armor really held up this game. We blocked nearly 2,000 damage, and thank goodness we did, because we had less than 100 hit points at the end of this round. So hopefully you guys picked up a few tips for defending and also attacking on Siegfried Line, and also both how to drive your WZ-111-14 and how to take them out on the battlefield. If you guys enjoyed this replay, please consider giving this video a like down below. It really helps the channel out. And if this gameplay has sparked your interest in the tier 9 Chinese heavy tank, then simply click up here and you can go through to a full tank review on the WZ-111-14, which hopefully will detail why I love this tank so much and why it's one of my go-to tanks if I'm having a rough time. And let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about the WZ-111-14. Have you got one? Are you a keen Chinese heavy tank driver? Do you enjoy this vehicle a lot? Or do you see these things on the battlefield, know their weak points, and pick them apart and see them as a big XP pinata? I'm really looking forward to seeing as many of you as I possibly can this weekend at Tank Fest. I'll be putting up some more details on that on Twitter and Facebook closer towards the weekend. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.